Welcome back to Inside City Hall. As we move closer to the June 22nd primary, the mayoral candidates are laying out their plans for the city. One of those candidates, former Sanitation Commissioner Kathryn Garcia, recently unveiled her plans to solve the city's housing crisis and address the large number of New Yorkers dealing with hunger, and also plot a transportation future for New York. On that latter topic, she is proposing to electrify 10,000 school buses, expand the city's infrastructure for bike parking, and create more dedicated bus lanes like the one on 14th Street here in Manhattan. Kathryn Garcia joins me now to talk about that and more. Thanks for being here. Very good to see you.
It's so nice to see you again.
Let's talk about your transportation agenda. You want to jumpstart the expansion of the 2nd Avenue subway line and also launch construction of a new Utica Avenue line in Brooklyn. That Utica Avenue, would that be like the extension of the 4 that has been mentioned from time to time?
Absolutely. We've had lots of plans for many years, but this is the time to really start investing. Not only will it help all of those communities get to work faster, but it's also counter-cyclical. It means that we're putting people back to work.
The estimated cost of each mile of new subway is something on the order of $1 billion. Where would this money come from?
Oh, no, this is something where we would have to work with the federal government to bring funding to the city, but also the capital budget of the MTA.
You've talked about dramatically increasing the number of electric vehicles used by city agencies. How would you do that, and why hasn't it been done up till now?
Oh, and so the one fun thing right when I was leaving sanitation is we finally got an electric refuse truck to play with. And the big criticism was it was too quiet. I don't think there are many New Yorkers who would be against that. But the big challenge has really been about electric infrastructure and having enough places to charge things. And that is why we can buy a lot of electric vehicles right now, but we don't have anywhere to plug them in. And my plan deals with that.
You have also talked about a permit parking system modeled on something that's done in other jurisdictions where residents get preference for and pay for the ability to be able to park on the streets in their neighborhood. I think about that as, in the abstract, as a good idea, but then I think about the rampant corruption and abuse of parking placards and the non-enforcement policy that enables them to get away with it at every precinct in the city and all throughout Lower Manhattan.
So this is where we are going to have to use technology so that the license plate reader matches that VIN number, matches that neighborhood. That is the most effective way to deal with it, is when we take sort of discretion out of the equation and make it so that it's very black or white.
Okay. If elected, you've said you would appoint a vaccine czar. On first reading, I'm thinking, isn't that the role of the health commissioner? They've been vaccinating New Yorkers for, like 100 years.
Or, I'm not there, and so I don't have another czar title. But it should be the job of the health commissioner, but I don't see it. When I look at how the vaccine rollout has gone, I am horrified. It is designed to make it as difficult as possible to get shots in arms. And we need transformational change. And you need to know who to go to make it so that they're held accountable for distributing the vaccine. If you're elderly and disabled, or have challenges with the internet, or have challenges with language, it's really tough for you right now.
As difficult as it may be, isn't the reality that almost all of the city is going to get vaccinated in the next, say, 6 to 9 months? In other words, this will largely be behind us by the time the next mayor is sworn in.
So that is what I'm I'm very hopeful that it is completely behind us. But the other thing we should be planning for, is it going to be like the flu, where you need an annual booster to protect you from coronavirus? And how are we going to do that, and what's the infrastructure?
Oh, let me switch to a related topic. What do you make of this nursing home controversy involving Governor Cuomo? Would you, if you were mayor, would you have challenged his handling of that part of the pandemic?
So, I would give him a lot of leeway in terms of we didn't know a lot back then, but we should be transparent. We should be transparent about the decisions that we make and the repercussions from them. Honestly, nursing home patients should have been kept in hospitals if they were sick with COVID. The challenge is that many of those hospitals were just completely overwhelmed. So I would just make it clear that here are the decisions that got made. Here are the numbers. This is why we made them. You need to be transparent if you're in a position of power.
You were a part of a panel that I moderated earlier this week on food policy. One of the issues that came up, which I thought was interesting and could have used a little more exploration, there was a difference among the candidates because you've been the food czar. You know how to get lots of food to people who are hungry very quickly. But then there are questions about what is the content of that food? Is it contributing to heart disease and obesity and other long-term illnesses? Are we making people sick in the name of making them healthy, which is a contradiction that you never want to see government involved in? How would you resolve that as mayor?
I mean, we really focused on what the health department said the nutritional content needed to be of those meals. And we got better over time and were able to provide more variety, vegetarian, halal, kosher, Asian. But, it is one of the things where the definition of what is allowed in a meal can vary by culture. Folks who are traditionally halal eaters believe that halal should include meat and not just be hummus. And so we have to really rely on the scientists about what our nutritional content should be.
Let's talk housing, I guess, in our last couple of minutes. You ran the New York City Housing Authority on a temporary basis. The full-time CEO who was later hired, Greg Russ, has proposed a blueprint to rescue the finances of the authority and reorganize operations. If you're elected, would you support and continue this blueprint? And how would you convince lawmakers to come along who end up, in some cases, seeing almost any change as equivalent to privatization?
I am very supportive of the blueprint for NYCHA. I am very supportive of RAD. I am very supportive of creating a housing trust. NYCHA residents need new upgrades to their apartments right now, not in 10 years or 20 years. It's a $40 billion deficit, and $1 or $2 billion isn't enough. Is not going to make the change. We have the opportunity to leverage federal money to make this happen. And so I just really want to make sure that every NYCHA resident wants to host Thanksgiving at their house and is proud of their apartment. We need to stop talking about the fact that this isn't going to be public housing in the future. Being able to leverage money does not mean we're giving up control in any way. And we need to stop scaremongering people that they could lose their apartments, because that's not what this is about. It is about improving the apartments for NYCHA residents today, not 5 years in the future or, when we're all retired. We need to do it today.
Got it. And when it comes to non-NYCHA affordable housing, everybody's got different ideas about what constitutes affordability. What's your sense of the part of the equation that most needs attention? Is it down at the very lowest end of the income scale? Is it somewhere in the middle? If you could give us some numbers.
Absolutely. So I have proposed that we need to build 50,000 units of very deeply affordable housing. I think that is where the biggest need is. But we also need to make it easier to build across all spectrums of housing. We added 500,000 residents. We may have lost some right now, and only built 100,000 units. That's not nearly enough. This is why we are all constrained by the cost of housing, is because there's just not enough supply.
Okay, we're going to leave it there for now. We can find more information about Kathryn Garcia on your website, and we'll wish you the best of luck on the campaign trail, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Happy Lunar New Year to everybody.
Okay, let's take a